Reese Walsh has to hold his nerve there and he has to be better than that. Fogarty's was in a position where he probably should have put it over. They had the forward pass incident. I felt for the ref in that moment. I struggle to see how Locky's game improves much.
It's hot take season once again with the Raiders and Broncos pretty much doing all the research for us for the weekend. We're going to try to add a little bit of sanity to the mix, maybe use our quiet indoor voices and decide if the week's biggest stories are real or ridiculous. Okay, I want to start with Reese Walsh. There's been a lot of conversation about him in the last 24 hours. I'm going to start with a simple question. You can decide if it's real or ridiculous, and we're going to speak all things Walsh. Did the sin bin benefit him?
Real. I think sometimes the worst thing you can do is poke the bear.
Yep.
Reese Walsh, that we've come to know of late, is that he's a player that loves to be backed into a corner. I think when his chips are down, he doubles down and he comes out harder. I think that's what you've seen from Reese yesterday. His performance probably on par with what Nathan done in a grand final a couple of years back. Obviously, Nathan's on a much bigger stage, but the Broncos were down and out. A period of that match with 11 men. For him to come back on the field and put the I thought he was pretty good before that too, to be fair. Like I thought his involvements were very controlled. He was looking to sort of build his game. But yeah, you poke the good ones and you can end up seeing things like that.
You spoke last week about you wanted to see him getting early ball in yardage. Seemed like they followed that plan a fair bit in the second half.
It was really interesting the way the Broncos played. I thought young Walters was really dangerous. Yeah. Which I had an inkling he might be, because a lot of the attention was on a lot of other men. He's got a good running game, good show and go. So I like what he done. I thought Ben Hunt fumbled his way around the field for most of the game, which meant Reese actually stepped up and played a lot of the direction type footy, which is not something we know Reese for. But as I said, I like the way he kicked an early 40-20, kicked another really crucial one late in the game. But having said that about Ben Hunt, he stands up and he ices the game, and it sort of erases everything he done prior in the match.
We'll come back to the Ben Hunt because I have some questions on it. But with the sin binning with Walsh and with Hudson Young, kind of feels like the Raiders got a little bit dudded there.
I enjoyed the officiating throughout the 80 minutes. I thought the ref done a really cool job, and I thought it ebbed and flowed on who sort of wore the better end of the calls. The part that I don't understand about the whole Walsh and Young thing is the Raiders were punished just as hard as the Broncos. I'm not sure exactly. I guess it's a bit of a woke decision. I think Hudson Young's got in trouble for inciting violence for years on end as rugby league players. Like Reese Walsh I remember being 10 years old and versing kids, and my dad would say, hey, if we can get that kid off his game, we're going to be in for a better day. Like Reese Walsh has to hold his nerve there and he has to be better than that. Hudson Young gave him a little chest bump. You can't then lead with your head twice. Yeah, sure, Young takes a bit of a dive, but I don't understand how the Raiders and the Broncos were punished to the same level out of that. For me, Walsh sits down. I'm even happy if the ref says, do you know what, you did start that, Hudson. We're going to give the penalty against you. But there's no way the Raiders should have had a player sitting down after that incident.
We spoke a little bit about the Ben Hunt field goal. Plenty of them. Fogarty had a crack. Walsh had a crack, had the one off the crossbar. Can you talk to us about the difference in them and I guess maybe what would be going through their heads setting up for those, especially with someone like Ben Hunt when he was 39 out?
First of all, I reckon it's important to touch on the mindset of the Broncos players as opposed to the Raiders players leading into those moments. Yeah. Momentum's a cool thing. Like Broncos were running downhill for the last 30 minutes of the match. So you've got some players in the Broncos team they're just on high till they're ready for a big moment. Raiders are hanging on for dear life. Fogarty probably at the back end of that match, he starts to think, hey, I've got to pull something out here. So it's a different sort of feeling for Fogarty. I'd say that the few attempts that the Broncos had were pretty carefree attempts in the sense that they were so far out. It's a little bit like a sideline conversion as opposed to one of them ones in the midfield. Sideline, everyone will cut you a lot of flack if you miss it. But if you miss one of them ones in between, it's like that's a costly miss. I reckon the Broncos, like Walsh's first one, there's no way he even really should have had a crack. But I'd say at that distance too, it eliminates the fear of a 7-tackle set because you're less likely to put the ball dead from the 45, 50-metre line. Similar to Ben Hunt's one, it's like, hey, I'm just going to have a crack because we're in Golden Point and why not? Fogarty's was in a position where he probably should have put it over. He's also, the time on the clock that he went for it, he also starts to understand that, hey, he misses here. It's 90% going over the dead ball line, and the Broncos will be up the other end having a crack. The Raiders, to be fair, like they fumbled their way through that golden point period. Even the shot that Jamal took, setting up right post for a right foot kick is not something that you'd normally do. The decision to have Paddy on over Starling, I think in hindsight, was that the correct decision? I understand the idea of getting a fresh body on, but they just looked a little bit disjointed. They looked a bit anxious, sort of come the crunch moments. And Ben Hunt, who was pretty ordinary, to be fair, most of the match, showed Jamal what needs to be done in them moments.
Without being in the locker room, what do you reckon Stick would have said to the boys after the game?
Oh, I think he has to be positive. They got a game in 6 days. I like what he said after the game about, like, my boys just played in one of the most epic games of footy that we're ever going to see. And that's the way I felt at the end of it. I'll remember where I was for that game for the rest of my life. Like, I've never been involved in a roller coaster like that ever. I didn't pick my phone up once. I was glued to a TV. And for a guy that works a 9 to 5 with 4 kids, like, I didn't have a care in the world for that 93 minutes. Like, it was one of the coolest 93 minutes of my life. Unfortunately, we lost it. But Sticky will be telling them once again that, hey, we're a team that we had a lead. Like, we can match it with the best team. None of that's gone away. And as he also alluded to in the press conferences, they've won them types of games plenty of times this year. So it means that the path gets a little harder. But I think we'd love to see a Broncos Raiders grand final in a few weeks.
So sticking with that game, Patrick Carrigan's been offered a 1-game ban. So if he does take that, he'll come back to the grand final if the Broncos make it. Broncos are still going to go through either the Panthers or the Dogs. Can you talk to me about what effects that's going to have on the Broncos without one of their pack leaders and Patrick Carrigan on either side if they face the Dogs or the Panthers?
I think they can cover it. I think they're blessed that they got a bloke called Payne Haas. Although he's on one leg at the minute, he's going to get a week off to rest that. The fact that he got through the whole match suggests, in 2 weeks' time, he's going to be good to go. I also think the side of the draw they're on means you take the 1 week and you tell Paddy to get ready for a grand final.
Yep.
They're going to play the Panthers or the Bulldogs, 2 of the smaller packs in the comp. Panthers are very methodical and know what to do, but they're not a pack that can really put a dent in you. And I think the Bulldogs, what we saw from them on the weekend, is much the same. And a big, powerful club like the Broncos, if you can't cover a front row / lock position at this time of year, you're probably kidding yourself as a club and your salary cap management as well.
Renault will likely be back for that match as well. Today's Monday. They've already said he should be right for that, so he's still another 2 weeks of recovery.
Adam Reynolds comes back and kicks him to death. As a Raiders fan, I would have loved to have seen Reynolds there yesterday. Because as a 35-year-old that's been in and out all year, a few young kids coming at you pretty hard yesterday would have been a long day for Adam, in my opinion. But the bigger the game, you bring him back and I think he does his best to kick the Broncos to victory.
Did you see much of the Panthers' 24-8 win over the Warriors in monsoon conditions?
Loved the whole weekend. This was another game that I really enjoyed. I think we all had this feeling that Panthers would get the job done.
Yeah.
But I think for the purists, for rugby league fans, the Warriors put up a fight for long enough that made the contest enjoyable. They had the forward pass incident. I felt for the ref in that moment. It's not easy as a ref, and that's the only rule that the bunker can't step in and save him. So my heart sunk. The moment he said play on, I just knew that he couldn't be rescued from that point on. So it's unfortunate that that's overshadowed the game a little bit, but the Panthers are going to get a softer run into the finals, and it's all things are looking systems go for the Panthers.
So this is a question I want to ask you. Real or ridiculous, the Panthers' path to the finals just became easier?
Oh, real, 100% real. Yeah, I think, it's pretty scary what they now can do. Obviously, they'll be on the Broncos side of the draw. Is that correct? That'll be a Broncos without Carrigan, as we just touched on. But the Warriors, a little bit similar. The Panthers, a little bit similar to the Sharks. They're probably the 2 most surest teams about the style of footy. And I reckon the surest that the fans can be about what they're going to produce. We know what they're going to bring. It'll be the opposition's job to stop it.
The return of Mitch Kenny, potentially for the Panthers. Can you talk to us a little bit about having that surety in their spine, how that's going to help Nathan Cleary and I guess the rest of the spine as well?
Yeah, Mitch Kenny's a huge cog in that wheel. I reckon there's another part to the Panthers. I reckon this year's a a gentle reminder, like age catches up with everyone.
Yep.
The two biggest parts of their spine for a long time now have been Isaiah Yeo and Dylan Edwards. Now, they're two players that the work rate they get through every week, time is going to catch up. I reckon the bumpiness of this season might just be the nudge to say, hey, we can't do this forever. This year we've got an opportunity to win a fifth one, but anything beyond this year, age might just be to our detriment. So I think they're a scary prospect. I think Dylan and like the plays that Dylan come up with on the weekend over there in New Zealand, them to keep the ball in play, and them ones, Isaiah Yeo looks back to the quality that we've come to know of him, and Nathan's doing what Nathan does. Nathan, when the Blues failed this year at Origin, I think that sent radars throughout the NRL that he was going to come back with a point to prove, and that's what we've seen. I thought Blaze Talangi done a really cool job of staying out of the way, and that might sound a bit harsh, but Blaze could almost jump on the coattails of a really cool Panthers team and have a premiership ring come the end of the year if he's just happy enough to play his part. The Panthers are only going to need Blaze to get 1 or 2 moments a game right. Now, if his ego can allow him to accept that fact, I think, as I said, he could have a few really cool moments in the next couple of weeks.
One team that's probably having a slightly boozier day than us will be the Roosters. They're having their Mad Monday right now. So they lost 20-10 on the weekend to the Sharks. It was always going to be, if the Roosters failed, they were going to blame the halves because there's been all this DCE contract drama around. That contract was never going to be announced until both teams are out. Now that they are out, do you think DCE will be a cure-all for the Roosters, who I think kind of overperforms this year?
So good to watch. Probably the way the game went was a reflection of their season. I mean, as fans, we were all waiting for them to put it together on a consistent basis. I think the way they play lends itself to a little bit of risky footy. They like to back their skill. Their skill has proved to be not quite consistent enough over the course of the season. Little Sammy Walker, I think we need to separate. Like, he come back from a huge injury.
Yep.
I think there hasn't been much talk of that. I think we thought he was just going to hit the ground running. For me, he looked like someone that was still a little timid. I think back to the grubber he puts in near the goal line. Now, I think there's two big bodies conversion on him, and he goes for a grubber. To me, that was, I don't want to get sandwiched between two big bodies. I'd rather put boot to ball and chance my luck in that sense. So I'd say, like, the Roosters are going to need a tougher version of footy from Sam Walker. You can't be consistent unless you've got a level of toughness to fall back on. He's tough when he has to be, Sam. Like, I watched Fanua Blake come down a short side and he threw everything he had at him to bring him to ground, but he needs to be tough before the fact. And I think if he can bring a tougher brand of footy, which I think he will, confidence will come after that injury. That's a huge injury.
Yeah.
I think he'll find that tougher brand. He'll be very surprised what it does for the rest of the team when little Sammy Walker plays a really nice, tough brand of footy.
Certainly doesn't help when they complete at 68%. Like, you're not going to win many finals games there.
They've always been that team that are willing to take risks.
Yeah.
I think they've had their most success when they had some really red, crash-hot teams, which allowed them to do that. But to me, they're a team that back their skill. That's what I've always known about the Roosters. They love to play out of yardage. They encourage their forwards to play. And this year, it hasn't created a high enough percentage brand of footy.
Assuming all the rumours are right, Reese Robson comes in, or we know he does, and DCE comes in next year, you'd have to say probably objectively a better team next year.
Yeah, better team next year. The Roosters have never been a team that's scared of sacrificing their future for current success. Like, it screams Cooper Cronk coming in. There are little whispers that maybe he steps straight into a coaching role. I'd love to see him back, Savala and Sammy Walker. I think it's sad to see Sandon Smith leaving, but that's the sport we're in. It's a salary cap sport, and you've got to take your opportunities when they arise. But I'd love for DCE to go and play a coaching role and watch Sammy Walker develop into a nice, tough little halfback.
We've held off from long enough. Sexton, Galvin. So this morning, it seems like Sexton will play this weekend. He's going to wear a sternum protector, so he should be fine. What were your initial thoughts when he came on?
I thought he straightened their attack.
Yeah.
It got me thinking a lot about the makeup of the Bulldogs team now. Smaller pack, great for your defensive structures, which then got me thinking about Locky Galvin. I think Locky Galvin's very unorthodox, a little bit similar to the way I played my footy. Now, Lockie's going to have a much longer and more successful career than I ever had, but reminds me a little bit of myself. And there's been so much made of Phil Gould's comments about the best young
teenager, yeah.
Yeah, so thinking about that over the weekend, it got me thinking, I wonder what Phil Gould saw, because he's never actually explained what he's seen in Locky. So as I thought about it a little deeper, Locky's a kid from Western Sydney. He's from Campbelltown. Played a lot of footy at the West Magpies, Parramatta Eels, and he done his best stuff probably at Westfield Sports. Now, these are three teams in close proximity. And when I say close Western Sydney. Now, I reckon Locky's played in a lot of teams growing up that have had some of the biggest, baddest athletes that known to man. Western Sydney known for your big, strong Polynesian kids.
Yep.
Locky's now been dropped in a team that struggles to create momentum with ball in hand. So if you can't, Lockie's a moments type player. He's not an on-the-ball 7. He's not looking to play sequences. He's scanning and waiting for opportunities. At the moment, the Dogs pack just isn't big enough to show them opportunities and get Locky those looks. So I'm a little bit frustrated for him. I'd say Toby's a little bit more orthodox. That's why he found a few nicer passing lanes when he did get on. But I think for the Bulldogs, I think they should be really proud and they'll be happy where they've got to as a club because they've made strides forward. They seem to have changed their culture, and I think it's a big 5 years ahead for them. But unless they can get a couple of enforcers to help Locky, I struggle to see how Locky's game improves much over the next little while. They went and got Leo Thompson. Now, there's two types of enforcers. There's your genetic freaks that can do it for 60, 70 minutes, your Tarpanese, Haas, Fanua Blakes. Unfortunately, them ones cost $1 million. There'd be a belief in the walls at the Bulldogs that Leo Thompson can become one of them. There's no evidence yet to say that'll happen next year. I think he's a long way off becoming one of them. I'd love to see him go and get someone like a Nelson Asafa Solomona, someone where Locky can look to the bench when Nelson gets a card and he goes, do you know what, we're going to get some front foot footy. So I reckon the footy that he played all his life was front foot and an instinctive player on the front foot. That's when you're going to see the best stuff. And now he's been dropped in a team where you could argue that the step from junior to senior footy, there's less moments anyway, but he's also in a team that doesn't get a lot of front foot footy. His footy, his whole life, he would have been on the front foot so often that it glossed over probably a lot of the cracks in his game. I don't know if you saw the last set of the game. They went to move the ball and there was a tiny little bit of space once Locky Galvin went to throw. It was the last roll of the dice, but he throws a pass that just goes behind the centre. Like he's not an orthodox number 7. He's a moments kid. And that Bulldogs team at the moment is just not getting him enough moments. The makeup of their team also allows them to carry a guy like Nelson, in my opinion, because they've got so much fit. Like they're only going to need 15 to 18 minutes out of Nelson to cause a bit of havoc because they've got so many foot soldiers around them, but they're just lacking a bit of front foot footy.
So real or ridiculous, the Bulldogs are only just starting their premiership window. This isn't the height.
Oh, there's a few pieces to come. I'm excited about what they've put together. I'm excited about watching what Cameron Serrato's done this year. He's blocked out a lot of noise and he's just stuck to his guns. I'm hoping he does that this week, leave Sexton on the bench, give it to Burton and Galvin. Let's just see what happens. Because I cheered them home last week. They were a joy to watch, and right up until the 77th minute, they were well and truly in the match. But it's definitely real. I think there is a window coming, but they have to get a couple of enforcers to get Locky a few better looks.
So if you've got Sexton, who says far more orthodox, partner in Galvin, why wouldn't you start with them and have Burton in the centres?
Because I think we're too far down that. So Toby's off to Catalan next year. Yep. I don't think unless there is a genuine desire to move Burton on, I don't think you upset your premier number 6 and say you're going to go play centre for a guy that's moving on. And I said on another show this week that if we actually break down what Sexton done, he need a ball forward and scored a try when everyone stopped. He squared the attack up 100%, but also didn't nail the clutch moments. They were ahead 18-14 in a period of that match, and he had a chance to really stand up. So I don't think the output was too much more where you'd want to upset the future of, don't upset Matt Burton. I don't think it's worth doing that for Toby, who's off to Catalan.